Now, this is a question I get a lot, probably even more so than the question I asked about being mean to the religious, and I get it. It's something I've acknowledged since the beginning, that the majority of atheists are liberals, and even a huge percentage of the people highly critical of the progressive left, they still consider themselves to be on the political left. So it's no surprise that some people think I'm way too mean to liberals, so today, I'm going to try to justify my stance. This ought to be fun. Now, right off the bat, I will admit that, in the past anyhow, I wasn't nearly as targeted toward the real enemy, the regressive extremists on the political left, as I probably should have been. And that's something that I've corrected of late. I try not to go after the left as a blanket, but I try to address the aggressives, or the alt-left, or whatever I need to call them, to differentiate them from the more moderates. I got it. Maybe I cast my net a little too wide, and if I happen to snare you and you got offended, hey, I apologize. Although, granted, I've also said for a very long time that if you don't fit into what I'm describing, I'm just not talking about you, and you shouldn't take it personally. This is the problem with using labels in an all-encompassing description of your position without considering that labels are rarely, if ever, specific enough to describe your actual views accurately. So, maybe I shouldn't apologize because rational people won't get offended by things like that in the first place. Regardless, I am seeing a lot of people who are carrying around the liberal flag that, based on the positions that they espouse, I really can't consider liberal. I mean, sure, you can stick whatever label you want on your forehead, but the simple fact remains that people who call themselves classical liberals, they're really more accurately regarded as conservative today. Yeah, that's right, all of you classical liberals out there. You're really not liberal at all. You're conservative. Welcome to the party. Because whether people like it or not, liberal, at least in America, doesn't mean what it meant just a few years ago. It is not about freedom or liberty or individualism or any of the things that classical liberals cling to. It's about authoritarianism and oppression and virtue signaling. It's about violence. It's about collectivism. If this is not what you think of when you consider liberalism, then I hate to break it to you, but you're out of touch with the times. Sure, it's a shame that your terminology got ripped out from under you, but that's simply the reality that we inhabit today. Classical liberals, in my opinion, are far better defined as either conservative or libertarian, depending on your particular political bent. Liberal has become a bad word these days for a reason. That's why regressives have largely abandoned it as they move farther to the political left in favor of progressivism. And don't get me started on how there's nothing at all progressive about progressivism, because we'd be here all day. So, no, I don't think I'm too hard on liberals, keeping in mind that the liberals that I'm talking about are the safe space, racist, sexist, and genderist regressives that want to control what you say, what you can think, and how you can react. They're obnoxious, authoritarian control freaks who, more and more these days, are turning to violence because they can't handle intellectual, evidence-based discussion and debate. They are, more and more, like the religious extremists, and they follow many of the same tactics. And that's not something that anyone should be proud of, nor should anyone want to identify with it. It's like calling yourself a Nazi just as Hitler's final solution becomes known. It's just not a label that anyone with half a clue ought to be proudly carrying. It's toxic. It's poison. It needs to be abandoned in favor of something else, at least until the regressive left have been routed and you can step back in and retake your label. I oppose the liberals that are authoritarian. I oppose the ones that want to tell you how you can sit. I oppose the ones that want to tell you that the food you eat is bad, that your choice in music or movies or anything else is horrible because it espouses positions they don't favor. I don't want you to tell me what kind of car to drive, or what kind of bags I can use at the grocery store, or what the name of some sports team can be. I oppose moral grandstanding and virtue signaling that goes on the political left. And you know, for supposedly educated people, they sure have some very uneducated ideas. But then again, according to some, the very idea of science is racist, so what the hell do they know? In fact, according to them, pretty much everything is racist or sexist or some other kind of ist, so if you don't agree with that, and you shouldn't, why would you want to share in their tainted word? It just makes no sense to me at all. Nope. I'm not too hard on the liberals. I'd say I have a remarkable amount of restraint, considering the kind of censorship and violence that so many on the political left are engaging in today. How many conservatives and even classical liberals have had their livelihoods taken away by Google lately? That's leftist censorship 101. Something most of us vehemently oppose, and we should. Come to think of it, about the only place I find myself really disagreeing with so-called classical liberals are over some of their solutions to society's problems. I have seen some people who want a lot less personal responsibility for the people, and that's something I simply can never agree with. But we're usually fighting on the same side for the same general goals, we just have different solutions in mind. So, with that in mind, I really want to hear what you have to say. Do you think I'm too hard on liberals? Do you agree with me that a lot of so-called classical liberals really aren't liberals at all, at least not in the modern sense? Please let me know in the comments. I'm honestly curious. Let's fight this fight together on the same side.
Everything changes.